Superstar is about to sign a Nike endorsement deal worth $28 million.
It pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
What if one endorsement deal became the biggest talking point in women's basketball, not because of the money, but because of what it represented? As reports about Caitlin Clark's massive Nike partnership made headlines, fans immediately began asking a much bigger question. Was this simply another superstar signing a lucrative contract, or was it proof that women's basketball has entered an entirely new era? From record-breaking TV ratings to sold-out arenas and unprecedented sponsorship opportunities, Clark's influence has extended far beyond the basketball court. But with that success has come intense debate, enormous expectations, and constant public scrutiny. In today's video, we'll examine what makes this reported Nike agreement so significant, why brands are investing heavily in Clark, and how her growing popularity could reshape the future of the WNBA. We'll separate confirmed facts from online speculation and explore why this story has become one of the most discussed topics in sports today. Stay with us, because the business impact behind this headline may be even bigger than the contract itself. The conversation around Caitlin Clark has never been limited to what happens between the opening tip and the final buzzer. Every milestone she reaches seems to spark a much bigger discussion about the future of women's basketball, and this latest wave of attention surrounding her reported Nike partnership is no different. For many athletes, signing a major endorsement deal is simply another career achievement. For Caitlin Clark, it has become something much larger. The reported figures immediately grabbed headlines across sports media. Fans weren't just talking about the size of the deal, they were asking what it meant for the future of the WNBA. Could one player really change the financial landscape of an entire league? Or was this simply the natural result of an athlete whose popularity had already reached historic levels? Those questions deserve a closer look. Before Clark ever played a professional game, she had already become one of the most recognizable names in basketball. During her college career at Iowa, she consistently filled arenas wherever she played. Television audiences reached record numbers, and games that once attracted casual attention suddenly became must-watch events. That level of popularity is extremely rare. Most professional athletes spend years building a national brand before companies begin making long-term investments. Clark entered the league with millions of fans already following her every move. From a business perspective, that's incredibly valuable. Companies don't invest in athletes based only on points, rebounds, or assists. They invest in visibility. They invest in influence. Most importantly, they invest in the belief that an athlete can connect with audiences beyond the sport itself. Clark has demonstrated exactly that. Her jersey became one of the league's top sellers almost immediately. Ticket demand surged whenever Indiana visited another city. Broadcasters reported increased viewership, while social media clips featuring Clark routinely generated millions of views. Those numbers matter. Every sold-out arena tells sponsors that fans are paying attention. Every television record signals growing interest. Every viral highlight increases the value of an athlete's personal brand. That's why endorsement deals are about much more than basketball. They're about business. They're about marketing. They're about creating a connection between an athlete and millions of consumers. Clark's reported Nike partnership became such a major talking point because it represented far more than a sponsorship. Many fans viewed it as evidence that women's basketball had reached another important milestone. For years, conversations about the WNBA often centered around financial growth and increased visibility. Players, coaches, and league officials have worked to expand audiences while creating more commercial opportunities for athletes. Recent seasons have shown encouraging progress. Attendance has increased. National broadcasts attract larger audiences. Corporate partnerships continue expanding. Young stars are bringing entirely new groups of fans into the sport. Clark has undoubtedly become one of the biggest faces driving that momentum. Of course, success at this level also creates enormous expectations. Every appearance becomes news. Every interview is analyzed. Every endorsement sparks debate. Some people celebrate the attention. Others argue that too much focus is placed on one player. Those discussions have become a regular part of the WNBA conversation. Regardless of where someone stands, one fact remains clear. Clark has introduced millions of new viewers to women's basketball. Many first-time fans didn't begin watching because they already followed the WNBA. They started watching because they wanted to see Clark play. Over time, many of those viewers discovered talented veterans, rising stars, and competitive teams throughout the league. That's one of the hidden benefits of superstar athletes. They attract attention that eventually benefits the entire sport. History has shown this across nearly every major league. When transformative athletes arrive, interest grows. New fans become regular viewers. Sponsors increase investments. Media coverage expands. The overall profile of the sport continues rising. That's exactly why companies compete so aggressively for partnerships with athletes who capture public attention. However, it's also important to separate verified information from online speculation. Large endorsement figures often generate rumors across social media. Reports can vary depending on the source, and not every claim circulating online is officially confirmed. That's why responsible reporting always focuses on confirmed information rather than internet speculation. Even without knowing every detail of a contract, the broader story remains significant. Brands clearly recognize Clark's commercial value. That alone says a great deal about where women's basketball stands today. Another fascinating aspect of this story is timing. Clark entered the league during a period of unprecedented momentum. Women's sports have experienced remarkable growth across multiple competitions. Viewership has increased. Investment has accelerated. Corporate sponsors have shown greater interest than ever before. The WNBA has benefited from that broader trend while also creating its own momentum through exciting young talent and established veterans competing at the highest level. Clark arrived at exactly the moment when public interest was already climbing. Her popularity accelerated that growth even further. Some analysts describe it as perfect timing. Others believe she became the catalyst that pushed the league into an entirely different level of national attention. The truth may include elements of both. A growing league met a uniquely popular athlete. Together, they created one of the biggest business stories in modern women's sports. But here's where the conversation becomes even more interesting. Endorsements don't guarantee success on the court. Fans still expect victories. Teammates still expect leadership. Coaches still expect improvement every single day. No marketing campaign can replace performance. Clark understands that reality better than anyone. Despite all the headlines surrounding sponsorships, she continues approaching each game with the same focus that made her successful in college, competing, creating opportunities for teammates, and trying to help Indiana win basketball games. That balance between global celebrity and everyday competition may ultimately define her professional career. Because in the end, endorsement deals create headlines, but championships create legacies. And as the season continues, Clark has an opportunity to pursue both. As the headlines surrounding Caitlin Clark's reported Nike partnership continued spreading, another conversation quietly began taking shape. It wasn't just about endorsement money anymore. It became a discussion about influence, how one athlete can change the way an entire league is viewed by fans, broadcasters, and major brands. That's something very few players ever accomplish. Professional sports have always relied on star power. Great athletes inspire fans, attract television audiences, and create unforgettable moments. But every so often, a player comes along who affects the business side of the game just as much as the competition itself. Many believe Clark has become one of those rare athletes. You can see it every time the Indiana Fever travel to another city. Tickets that once took weeks to sell suddenly disappear within hours. Arenas prepare for larger crowds, local media increase their coverage, and national broadcasters place Fever games in premium television slots. That level of attention doesn't happen by accident. It happens because fans want to watch. And wherever fan interest grows, business opportunities usually follow. Companies understand this better than anyone. Before investing millions of dollars into an athlete, brands study far more than points per game. They analyze television ratings, merchandise sales, social media engagement, and overall public interest. They ask a simple question: can this athlete inspire people to pay attention? In Clark's case, the answer appears to be yes. Her highlights regularly dominate sports conversations. Even people who don't normally follow the WNBA often recognize her name because her performances continue making national headlines. That's an incredibly valuable position for any athlete. But popularity also creates pressure. Every outstanding game raises expectations for the next one. Every difficult performance becomes a trending topic online. That's simply the reality of being one of the most recognizable athletes in America. Fortunately for Indiana, Clark has shown remarkable composure throughout that process. Rather than chasing individual recognition, she consistently speaks about improving as a team. That approach has earned respect from teammates, coaches, and many former players around the league. Basketball has always rewarded players who elevate everyone around them. Clark's passing ability is one example. Her court vision allows teammates to receive easier scoring opportunities. Defenses must constantly choose between stopping her shot or preventing her from creating open looks for others. Neither option is easy. That's one reason Indiana's offense becomes much more dangerous when everyone is moving together. Still, success in professional basketball requires much more than individual brilliance. Championship teams are built on chemistry, communication, trust, consistency. Those qualities take months and sometimes years to develop. Fans watching from home often judge a season based on one exciting victory or one disappointing loss. Inside a professional locker room, the perspective is completely different. Coaches evaluate habits. They focus on daily improvement. They understand that long-term success depends on small adjustments repeated over time. That process isn't always visible to the public. Social media rarely highlights ordinary practice sessions. It doesn't capture hours spent reviewing film or discussing defensive rotations. Instead, fans usually see dramatic moments, game-winning shots, emotional celebrations, post-game interviews. Those moments become the public story. The work behind them often remains invisible. That's another reason Clark's situation is so unique. She performs under constant observation. Every interaction receives attention. Every comment becomes a headline. Every endorsement creates another round of debate. Some believe that attention is deserved because of her historic impact. Others argue the spotlight should be shared more equally across the league. Both viewpoints continue fueling discussions among basketball fans. Yet one fact remains difficult to dispute. Clark has helped introduce millions of new viewers to the WNBA. Many longtime supporters appreciate that growth because greater visibility benefits everyone. Higher television ratings can lead to stronger media rights deals. Larger audiences attract additional sponsors. Greater sponsorship revenue creates opportunities for teams, players, and future generations. That's how professional sports continue evolving. One generation creates momentum. The next generation builds upon it. Clark now finds herself at the center of that evolution. Another important part of the story involves expectations surrounding young athletes. When players become famous at an early age, people often expect immediate perfection. Every mistake feels larger. Every challenge becomes national news. But professional careers rarely follow a perfectly smooth path. There will always be difficult games, injuries, learning experiences, periods of adjustment. The greatest athletes aren't defined by avoiding adversity. They're defined by how they respond to it. Clark has already shown that resilience throughout her basketball journey. Whether facing intense defensive pressure, recovering from setbacks, or adapting to the speed of the professional game, she continues moving forward. That mentality may prove even more valuable than any endorsement agreement. Because while sponsorships create financial opportunities, sustained excellence is what keeps those opportunities growing. Indiana understands that as well. The organization's long-term success depends on building a competitive team capable of challenging the league's best opponents. That requires development across the entire roster. Veteran leadership, young talent, strong coaching, defensive consistency, balanced scoring, No single player, regardless of popularity, can accomplish everything alone. That's why Clark frequently emphasizes teamwork whenever she's asked about personal achievements. She understands that lasting success comes from collective effort. As the season progresses, fans will continue monitoring every game, every milestone, and every headline connected to her career. Some stories will celebrate incredible performances. Others will spark debate. That's simply part of being one of the biggest names in modern sports. But beyond the contracts, endorsements, and social media conversations lies something much more meaningful. A young athlete helping introduce an entirely new generation of fans to women's basketball. And regardless of opinions surrounding individual headlines, that impact may ultimately become one of the defining legacies of Caitlin Clark's career. As the season moves deeper into its most important stretch, one thing has become impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark's influence now reaches far beyond the basketball court. Every game she plays attracts national attention, every milestone sparks new conversations, and every headline seems to generate another wave of debate across the sports world. But once the cameras are turned off and the social media discussions slow down, one question remains. What comes next? For Clark, the answer has never been about chasing headlines. Throughout her basketball journey, from high school to Iowa and now the WNBA, her reputation has been built on preparation, competitiveness, and an incredible desire to improve. Those qualities don't disappear after signing endorsement deals or breaking records. If anything, they become even more important. The expectations surrounding her career are now unlike anything the WNBA has experienced in recent years. Fans expect spectacular performances almost every night. Analysts compare her numbers with some of the league's greatest players, while television networks continue placing Indiana Fever games in prime viewing windows because they know audiences want to watch. That level of attention can inspire an athlete. It can also create enormous pressure. History has shown that many young stars struggle when expectations become overwhelming. Every missed shot is criticized. Every turnover becomes a trending topic. Every loss creates new questions about leadership, coaching, or team chemistry. Clark has already experienced much of that during her first seasons as a professional. Yet each challenge has also created another opportunity to grow. One of the biggest reasons coaches and former players continue praising Clark is her willingness to learn. Great athletes don't believe they've already mastered the game. They continue studying. They continue adapting. They continue improving. That's especially important in the WNBA, where experienced veterans understand how to exploit even the smallest weaknesses. Every season becomes another classroom. Every opponent teaches a new lesson. And every difficult game provides information that can make a player even stronger. Indiana's coaching staff understands that process. Building a championship contender isn't accomplished overnight. It requires patience. It requires trust. Most importantly, it requires every player accepting a role that benefits the team. Clark's passing ability perfectly reflects that philosophy. Although she has become famous for remarkable scoring performances, one of her greatest strengths remains creating opportunities for teammates. Great point guards don't simply score. They organize an offense. They control tempo. They recognize mismatches before anyone else on the floor notices them. Clark continues demonstrating those instincts at an elite level. That's why many basketball analysts believe her greatest achievements may still be ahead of her. As she gains more experience, develops stronger chemistry with teammates, and continues adjusting to professional defenses, her overall game could become even more complete. Of course, success in professional sports is never guaranteed. Every season presents new challenges. Injuries can change everything. Opposing teams constantly improve. Young players emerge across the league every year. Competition never becomes easier. That's exactly what makes sustained excellence so difficult. It's also what makes it so rewarding. Another important part of Clark's story is the impact she has already made on young basketball fans. Across the country, children are practicing deep three-pointers inspired by her confidence. Youth basketball participation continues growing. Families who had never attended WNBA games are now filling arenas to watch professional women's basketball. That kind of influence cannot be measured only by statistics. It represents inspiration. It represents possibility. And perhaps most importantly, it represents growth for the sport itself. The WNBA has spent years building toward moments like this. Veteran players laid the foundation. Coaches developed future stars. League executives expanded opportunities. Today's generation is benefiting from decades of dedication by countless people who believed women's basketball deserved a larger audience. Clark has become one of the newest faces of that continued progress. She didn't create the league's growth by herself, but she has certainly accelerated national interest in remarkable ways. Looking ahead, the biggest challenge won't be maintaining popularity. It will be turning that popularity into sustained success. Indiana wants to compete for championships. Fans expect playoff runs. Teammates want to build something lasting together. Those goals require focus that extends beyond media attention. Every practice matters. Every film session matters. Every possession matters. That's where championships are ultimately won. Not in endorsement announcements. Not in social media debates. Not in television headlines. They are earned through consistent effort over an entire season. Clark appears to understand that better than most. Whenever she speaks publicly, her message usually returns to the same themes: improving every day, trusting teammates, and staying focused on winning basketball games. That mindset may become her greatest advantage. Because while outside conversations constantly change, the fundamentals of success never do. Preparation, discipline, teamwork, resilience. Those qualities define every great athlete, regardless of era. As this season continues, there will almost certainly be more records to chase, more memorable performances, and more conversations surrounding Caitlin Clark's remarkable career. Some headlines will celebrate victories. Others will analyze setbacks. That's simply part of becoming one of the biggest stars in modern sports. But when people look back years from now, they'll probably remember something much bigger than one endorsement deal or one record-breaking performance. They'll remember a player who helped bring millions of new fans to women's basketball while continuing to push herself toward greatness every single season. And perhaps that's the most important achievement of all. Because records are eventually broken. Contracts eventually expire. But the impact a player leaves on the game can last for generations. That's the opportunity now standing in front of Caitlin Clark. And the next chapter of that journey is only beginning. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Caitlin Clark's incredible journey and the growing business impact she's having on women's basketball, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest uploads. We bring you original analysis, the biggest WNBA stories, player updates, and behind-the-scenes insights that go beyond the headlines. Now we want to hear from you. Do you believe Caitlin Clark's popularity is changing the future of the WNBA? Or do you think the league's success is being driven by the collective talent of all its stars? Drop your opinion in the comments below. We read your comments, and your take could be featured in an upcoming video. If you found this video informative, don't forget to leave a like and